This video contains major spoilers from chapter 40, so spoiler warning. Now, among the many things revealed to us in chapters 39 and 40, what caught my attention the most is definitely Pinocchio. And no, it's not because I worked part-time as a teacher in Blue Archive, but because of the many mysteries currently surrounding her. I mean, we don't even know yet exactly what she is. All we know is that Reptilian found her inside Whaley and that she claimed to be a rapture when she introduced herself to us.
My species? Oh, I know what that word means. I'm a rapture.
But one look at Pinocchio and you can immediately tell that she is not a rapture, as she looks more like a human being, or more specifically, a Nikke. With Naita even confirming that Pinocchio's body composition is similar to that of a Nikke, that she even has her own core. However, Pinocchio has one key trait that Nikkes don't have, because apparently, she can grow taller.
For the moment, I do presume that Pinocchio is a Nikke.
Presume? You mean you're not sure?
When first mine eyes beheld Pinocchio, she stood but thus tall.
What are you saying? That she grew?
Indeed. Her body composition is akin to that of a Nikke's. She even doth possess a core.
And yet, you're telling us she's grown. How does that make any sense?
Now, the fact that even Naita was unsure if Pinocchio really is a Nikke, to me suggests that she's most likely not a Nikke. Which, by the way, is also the conclusion that our dear friend Reptilian came to, as shown in the 4th entry of the Lost Relic from chapter 39, where he said that this child is neither human nor Nikke, nor even rapture. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that Pinocchio is neither Nikke nor rapture. However, if that's the case, then what exactly is she? Well, all of the evidence we have so far suggests that Pinocchio might be the first of a new species. I mean, the title of the cutscene where she was introduced was literally called the third species, and even Reptilian considered this as a possibility. So yeah, a new species of machine life form may have just emerged in Nikke, and Marian's recent awakening might have something to do with it. And the reason why I'm saying this is because according to Liberaio, the birth of a new queen is going to bring a drastic change to the laws of nature itself, that everything we've known so far about the raptures is going to be useless once a new queen arrives.
You don't understand what it means for a new queen to be born. The birth of a new queen signifies changes in the laws of nature. The behavioral patterns of the raptures will be completely altered. I can't say exactly what those changes would be, but it will be in ways no one can possibly predict. They could get smaller and multiply, or grow larger and decrease in number. They might wrap themselves in living tissue or some other natural material. They could choose to live alongside humans or to wipe out humanity entirely. There's no telling what could happen. Everything you've learned about raptures over the past century will become worthless.
So yes, I'm suggesting that the unpredictable change that Marian's awakening brought is the creation of the third species, that she is their queen. And Marian being the queen of the third species can actually explain why Pinocchio looks like a Nikke. After all, we know that Marian chose to identify herself as a Nikke, so I think it's possible that Marian's decision influenced the third species to adapt this form. But that's not all, because Marian's influence can even be the reason why Pinocchio needs to go through the experience of growing up. Because we know that in chapter 13, Marian's mind was reverted to a childlike state after being subjected to a neural wipe. So it's possible that the reason why Pinocchio had to start as a child is because her queen also went through a similar experience, with the only difference being that Marian only had to go through the mental aspect of it, instead of both mental and physical like Pinocchio. So yeah, I think that it makes perfect sense to assume that Marian's awakening is what gave birth to the third species, or at least it's what gave birth to Pinocchio. Now I also want to point out that back in chapter 36, Leviathan explained that what typically hatches from the dark matter eggs are raptures true and true. However, every egg we've encountered while exploring the dark matter zone back in chapter 35 only had rapture Nikke abominations inside them.
They seem like an amalgamation of raptures and Nikkes.
Really? Is that what you saw? Usually what hatches from those eggs are raptures through and through, albeit ones pieced together haphazardly from different materials.
So what if the reason for the sudden increase of rapture Nikke abominations hatching from these eggs is because the dark matter process is being influenced by Marian's will? That these rapture Nikke abominations are hatchlings that failed to become one of the third species. And speaking of Leviathan, the first time we've heard about the creation of a new species in the main story is actually during our conversation with her back in chapter 36, where she said that the reason why they're building an ark is because the four beasts wants to become a new species.
To us, the Ark is like a protective womb that produces human imposters. Of course, I realize your kind existed before the Ark was created. But once the Ark went online, you all began pouring out, and basically became a new species. That's why we view the Ark as the origin of your evolution. Correct. Neither rapture nor Nikke. A new species capable of crushing the offspring as well as other raptures.
We also later found out that this plan involves the creation of a new queen. So it's safe to say that the four beasts were aware that the creation of a queen is going to lead to the creation of a new species, that it's always been their plan this entire time. But speaking of evolving into a new species, what if that's actually what evolution is? That Rappy and Behemoth's evolutions actually turned them into members of the third species. Now this is really just a random idea I've came up with while reading the Lost Relics. However, if you think about it, the one thing we know for sure about evolution is that its main requirement is being exposed to the commander's blood. And we found out in chapter 40 that the commander shares a strong connection with the queen who's recently awakened. So if this new queen is really the queen of the third species, then it's safe to say that the commander himself also shares a connection with the third species. So I think that it would make sense to assume that the evolution that this blood can trigger would be somehow related to the third species. But unfortunately, we don't have enough information about evolution as well as the third species to continue this topic, especially since I'm also considering the possibility that maybe Whaley also evolved as a third species, but she obviously did not get exposed to the commander's blood, so yeah. Now, it's also possible that the requirement for raptors to become one of the third species is different from that of a Nikke, but we're just as clueless on what's really going on with Whaley, so I think it's best that we just keep this theory in the shelf for now, at least until we find out more.